Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome in our Azure Weekly Update video. In this video, we will be going to talk about all of these 5 updates which has been released by Microsoft for Azure Cloud. All of these updates are generally available and can be used with the supported services, right? So let's quickly jump into these updates and understand what all of these updates are and how it's helping us to enhance our workloads on the Azure cloud. Now, the first update which we have is for more transactional at no cost for Azure Standard SSD. Now, this is a very important update, I would say, in terms of doing the cost optimization or doing the cost saving, right? So in this update, what Microsoft did for Azure Disk Storage customer or for the Azure Disk Storage customer, Microsoft announcing a waiver of billing or billable transactions that going beyond to the hourly limit of the Azure Standard customer. As a result, Microsoft have made changes to the billable transaction cost per hour that can result in the cost saving. Now, if there is the any transactions which is going beyond to the hourly limits, because each transaction have their own limit, what is the maximum uh, limit for a transaction to be processed, and in that case, if any transaction which is reach or which is goes beyond to the hourly limit will be waived off by the Microsoft, right? Now, as we know, Azure Standard SSD storage cost depends on three major things. One is the size, number of disk, number of transaction, right? And at the as well as the fourth one, which is quite obvious, is the SKU. What is the SKU we have selected, right? Now, with the Azure Standard SSD, always the SKU is going to be the P series. So any transaction that exceed the maximum hourly limit will not occur any additional charges, and this pricing effect will be happen on the 6th March of 2023. So it's this changes or these changes has been already implemented by the Microsoft for the Azure Standard SSD. The next update which we have is for Azure Databricks. So we have a model serving on Azure Databricks generally available. With the model servings, what it is going to do, it's deploying the machine learning model at the REST APIs, allow customer to build a real-time machine learning application like personalized recommendations, customer service chatbots, fraud detection, and many more, all without the hustle of managing serving infrastructure. The first feature to launch under this model is the serverless real-time interference, right? This feature use serverless compute, which means the endpoint and associate compute resources are managed and run in data brick. So this is again a kind of I would say the model serving basically is the kind of way of how you create or how you manage the applications or build the application into the Azure Data Brick. With this model serving, it allows you to build any kind of or real-time machine learning application on the Azure Data Brick. The next update, I would say, which is a very important in terms of having the monitoring or having the application monitoring on the virtual machines and VM scale set. So we know application insight is there or application insight is there for having the monitoring on app services on Azure, but now this capability has been extended to the Azure virtual machine and virtual machine scale set. Now we have an extension called application insights extension, which allow us to easily monitor the IaaS hosted .NET framework, .NET Core application running on the Azure machine and the VM scale set. Customer can enable this feature throughout the portal or to the PowerShell scripts. When you enable, the extension will be configured and attached a application insight agent to your application runtime, so that application level of logs, metrics, and traces flow into your application insight resources. Armed with application level signals, you will be able to understand how your application or .NET application is performing and more easily determine the cause of any incident, right? So this is a very important, I would say, the release which is there for in terms of having the application monitoring, because earlier we only have the log analytics who just do the resource level of monitoring, and we still can use the application insight for the application running on the VM. But for that uh, we we basically need to integrate our application using the SDKs base more configuration inside the application, right? So but with this simple extension thing, now we can easily go ahead and enable the extension, configure the extension on the VM or VM scale set, and all the logs will be send it to the or ingested to the application inside. With this release, it simplifies the steps required to enable application monitoring compared to the previously available options. SDK based instrumental via application inside SDK or Azure Monitor application inside agent based for on-prem servers. The first option required customer to modify their code, while the second option, designed for on-premise environments, required configuration step or manual installation procedures. Last but not least, this extension make it possible to enable application inside monitoring on the VM scale set without advanced PowerShell scripts. So again, as mentioned, we do have an option earlier to do the application monitoring using the application insight, but that's required a code level change inside the application, so that application can directly integrate with the application insight using the code. But now simply we have extension which simply can go and enable on the VM and VM scale set, and then can integrate itself with the application, and then from there it can ingest all the logs into the application insight for further analysis, and then from there you can analyze the log and understand or determine the performance, or understand and determine the cause of your any incident which has happened. The next update which we have is for Azure Ultra Disk Storage. Now this capability has been introduced or extended into the China North 3 Azure region. As we know, Ultra Disk offer high throughputs, high input output operation per second, which is also known as a IOPS, and consistent low latency disk storage for Azure virtual machine. Ultra disk storage is well suitable for data intensive workloads such as the SAP HANA, top tier databases, and transactional heavy workloads. The next update which we have is for Azure virtual machine scale set. We have a new options for VMSS, and the option called a spot priority mix. Uh, Now, as we know, we do have an option called spot VM, which was there earlier, and spot VM can be used with the Azure VM scale set to reduce or optimize the cost, right? At the same way, Microsoft have generally announced or general availability of spot priority mix, a new feature for the virtual machine scale set with flexible orchestration mode enable. With priority with spot priority mix, customer can now mix the spot and the standard virtual machine in the flexible scale set, right? So earlier you don't have options, right? As I told you, the spot VM option or spot uh, virtual machine option was there with the VM scale set, but you don't have a capability to mix them. You either can use the spot VM or either you can only use the standard virtual machine. But now this has been changed. With the flexible scale set, you have options to mix both of them by using the spot priority mix option, which allow you to mix the spot VM and the standard virtual machine in the scale set, providing the high availability of standard virtual machine and the cost saving of the spot virtual machine. This feature allow customer to auto scale their scale set with the percentage of split of spot and standard virtual machine, providing even more flexibility and the cost optimization. With spot priority mix, customer can specify a base number of standard and a percentage of split of spot and standard virtual machine to be used when the scale set capacity is above the base number of the standard virtual machine. This allow you to ensure that their critical workloads are always running on a standard virtual machine while taking the advantage of cost saving options by spot virtual machine for non-critical and interruptible workload, right? So now this is what it is, right? So as I told, this is a flexible skill set option, right? You can use this is with the flexible orchestration mode enable. In that kind of skill set, what you can do, you can have your multiple application running, right? You can have some of the application running which is a very critical for the business, and some of the application running for the dev test or the UAT. Now what you can do, your critical application can be running on a standard virtual machine, and your non-critical or dev test virtual machine can be run on the spot virtual machine. In which case what you can do, you can have your cost savings. Yes, you can split it out how you want to run your scale set or how you want to run their application into the scale set for the critical and non-critical application. At the same time, you can take the advantage of cost saving offered by the support spot VM for the non-critical and interruptible workload. This is something this feature which is a spot priority mix feature can be enabled by using the Azure portal, Azure CLI, PowerShell, or the Azure ARM template. So we have a two interesting update in last week. Uh, one is application application insight extension app insight extension. The second update, the interesting update which we have is spot priority mix for Azure virtual machine scale set. Well, that's it in this video. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.